I've never really been one to sort of say, I hope this happens or I hope this happens negatively to this company or whatever, because I think that obviously Microsoft and Sony, neither one of them are perfect companies, and even though I prefer Microsoft, I'm not stupid enough to go, oh, well, they do everything perfectly great and they never screw up or anything like that. That'd be asinine to think that. At the end of the day, I feel like what Microsoft is doing is offering people choices, and not only are they offering people choices, but they're also going out of their way to make sure that gamers are heard and that we get more of these options than we ever have before. Now, obviously, Microsoft still has a long way to go, but clearly things are going in a positive direction, and this isn't one of those things where I do hope that clearly Microsoft and Activision are going to get something worked out, and at the same time, I do think that Sony kind of have showed their hand, and it's not a pretty look. It's not a good look for them. Their fans clearly don't really have a good look either. But Microsoft is getting major accolades and help from a strange sort, like someone that you wouldn't really expect. Now, we know that they're getting, places like Steam. Gabe is a big backer of Microsoft and saying there's no need to sign a contract because Microsoft's good with their word. Nintendo signing contract, GeForce signing contracts. Clearly, like I've said it for a long time, the cloud stuff is never going to be a big deal because gamers don't want to game that way for the most part. I mean, as a last resort or whatever, but honestly, just deciding to game that way is not really going to work out well for anybody. And it's pretty much like I always said. And why would Google have an issue with that, with Microsoft and gaming that way, when they closed down their own option for that? You know what I mean? Like they were the ones that, they were the ones that really honestly kind of decided to do that. But there's now this new news, and I can't wait to get into it. What's up, everybody? I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. Please hit that like button, smash it. I would really appreciate it. I'm looking to get 100 likes on each of the videos that I do, and it would be awesome if you could do that. So yeah, help in unexpected places. And while I personally don't really kind of go, oh, wow, this is great or whatever, like you see some of these bigger companies, and probably because they are in danger of some kind of issue from, these companies as well. So it looks like Tencent is supporting Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, at least, from what we can tell, which I think is, a very smart move on their part, and I've always kind of warned, that Tencent is one of those companies that realistically, they buy a lot of companies. And I thought that, they could gain a monopoly if they're not careful. And, I think they're like the number one overall company, where Sony's like the number one company from like the console perspective. So I think there is a little bit of a different situation there. But I do expect, to see, probably obviously people are going to have like some sort of blowback when it comes to some of this stuff. Like personally, I don't think, maybe it's not the best type of deal at any rate to have them back you, but it is one of the bigger companies, and them coming out possibly backing Microsoft, I think, is pretty good. While Microsoft proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard is under scrutiny in the West, some Chinese companies have supported the deal. The country's gaming giant Tencent is reported to be one of them. Two Chinese game companies, including Tencent, recently came out in support of the Activision Blizzard acquisition, according to a reporter via Seeking Alfred. However, there is at least one local firm that expressed concerns over the merger to the country's antitrust regulator, State Administration for Market Regulation. The exact ratio of supporters to opponents of the deal among Chinese companies remains undisclosed. Now, last April, Microsoft filed its bid to acquire Activision Blizzard with the Chinese watchdog under a simplified procedure. They later declined the request, saying it will review the deal under normal procedure. The Chinese regulator wanted to first examine the concerns that other global regulators, including the European Commission, has over the merger. This includes potential damage to the market, competition, and the possibility of Microsoft making Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard games exclusive. Tencent hasn't publicly confirmed its support of the deal, but given its long history of acquisitions itself, it wouldn't be a surprise to see them side with Microsoft. Now, on February 21st, which obviously was the other day, Microsoft will defend the proposed acquisition, and actually we heard that went really well, not to mention the ongoing investigation. So supposedly it went really well. A lot of this stuff is for show, over kind of grandiose type of thing, we only have 20% of the market here, and this blah blah blah, and again, they're signing these contracts with these different companies. Again, I think that's a lot to do with like show and things like that. At the end of the day, is that going to be something that's going to help Microsoft long term? I don't know. I think that this could kind of go either way. I still think that it probably has a better chance of passing than failing. But at the end of the day, it really kind of comes down to what they draw. If they get somebody that can understand the business a little bit, I think they'll be in a better spot. But unfortunately, like when you have some of these businesses saying, well, if Microsoft gets, Call of Duty, then it's a big screw you to anybody that can't afford a console because they won't be able to game stream. Like, if you can't differentiate game streaming from, all the rest of this stuff, then I honestly don't know what to say, because game streaming is completely different, and you don't need a console, hence why it's game streaming. But again, I don't see why people would want to do that. But Microsoft was pretty upfront about all of that to begin with. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I always think that it's kind of funny when we see some of these types of announcements and things like that come out. But the more companies that are in favor of this, I think the better, obviously. And we continue to see like Microsoft fight the good fight, and they have to continue to do this, unfortunately. It's a real shame that they're not able to go out there and just pick these studios up or whatever, because when you look at it, like Bungie, for instance, is a publisher as well with a huge franchise, and there's no guarantee that Sony keeps those games on competing platforms, despite what Bungie says. But nobody was harassing Bungie and Sony about that deal. That's the difference. And Sony being in the spotlight that they're in, I just feel like it's one of those situations where it does seem unfair. There's a lot of kind of greasing hands and things like that, and to me it just never made sense. And I hope that they kind of get that Microsoft gets a fair deal, a fair shot out of this. That's the main hope here. Get a fair deal above everything else, because that's what you need to do. So, with that being said, I will take a minute to say thank you all for watching my videos. Please leave a like on it. I would certainly appreciate that. It would mean everything to me. If you're watching the content and like it, like I said, that's cool. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, crap gamer 'em up. Crap gamer out.